Anytime I want to thank I want to thank Kol HaLoshen. I want to thank Rabbi Yosef Yafi for all the schus of Zikr Rab. I was on a plane many years ago, and there was one stop in Frankfurt, Germany, and there were plenty of Germans on the plane. And this young fellow is watching me. And he keeps eyeing me. He looks at me and he's staring me down. Finally, he couldn't control himself. I was going back and forth. I don't know why, getting my stuff, whatever. And suddenly he says, come, sit next to me. And he starts asking me questions. And he was a German guy, a young fellow, his 30s the most. And he starts telling me how much he loves those Jews. I like the Jews, the Israelis. And he starts telling me how the Israeli airplanes go flying and they bomb them and they do a job. And he kept repeating, I like the way they fight. Now, I take a look at him. I refuse to. You know, when you talk to somebody and he's trying to be exciting, so you shake your head. I didn't shake my head once. And he's noticed it. And after a while he told me, I know what you're thinking of. He kept telling me how much he loves the Jews. He loves the Jews. He says, but I had nothing to do with that. You know, I'm a different generation. Okay, fine. But either way, he kept telling me he loves the way they fight. I like the way the Israelis fight. Now, the Germans paid for the bunker of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was the president of Iraq. He was a Russia Marusha who considered himself a Gilgal of the Nebuchadnezzar Russia. He used to torture if somebody in his Olympics didn't do a good job. He tortured him to death, and the way he did it, don't even ask. It was a Shrek, and his sons did things that you can't even. And he called himself a Gilgal of Nebuchadnezzar. And according to if you know history, he fit the bill. His life dream was to destroy Yerushalayim, just like Nebuchadnezzar had. He had a lot of similarities. He'd kill his own relatives, just like Nebuchadnezzar was known to do that. Whoever went to jail by Nebuchadnezzar never came out. Nobody smiled when Nebuchadnezzar was in power. Ask anybody in Iraq if they smiled when Saddam Hussein was around. You know what Saddam Hussein did? They say he had 12 different Saddams. He forced people to take a nose job to make him look exactly like him, because he was afraid they're going to assassinate him. So we'll get the other guy who looks just like me. He was a chacham. In fact, Saddam means chacham. That's what I was told. Saddam Hussein. Saddam means chacham. Saddam means something like some kind of a pervert. And he didn't like him. What's his name? President Bush. Senior Bush hated him. He used to antagonize him, and he used to keep saying Saddam instead of Saddam. Saddam means a ganze chacham, and Saddam means a ganze toita meshugada. And he kept saying it the wrong way. That's what I heard. Who knows? But whatever. About a lot of nisim, what happened with him. I mentioned to the mashgiach of Malikud, Rav Nosson, that there was no nest as great as the Gulf War nest since the nest of Purim. And he said it's 100% true. Nobody was killed. One, Michal Shabbos of Fahesia, got a skila. He got it banged against it. And he got killed. Rav Nosson Vachfagel. The biggest nest since Nest Purim, they say, if it's true, I don't know, 100,000 people went to the Kaisel, to daven. And all the Gdolei, all the Rosh Yeshivas were predicting, they were laughing at the whole matzav. He was pointing scuds to Israel. You know what was inside those scuds? He was threatening chemical warfare. It's illegal. Chemical warfare, it's supposed to be very cheap, and when it kills a person, it's used for I don't know, cockroach, I don't know what they use it for. But you're not allowed, it's a Geneva conference does not allow these things. He used to use them. He used them on his own people. He killed 100,000 or much more, at least, Kurds. The Kurds live in Iraq. 100,000. There's a whole cemetery full of them. And when they died a horrible death, there's a foam. As soon as the chemicals hit you, it causes a certain, I don't want to talk about it. It was unbelievable. And he was threatening to do that to Israel. And that's why all the Israelis were putting masks on their faces, just in case. And if you ever got one of those, there were 9 different shots at least that you had to take in a certain succession, or else it doesn't work. And when it does work, we hope it's going to save part of you. It's a pachad, what went on there. And there were pictures in Eretz Yisrael, everybody had these gas masks because they're scared of his thing. What did Reb Chaim Kanevsky say? Save the mask for Purim. He made a joke out of the whole business. And the war was over a day before Purim. On Purim. On Purim, there you go. Over on Purim. And when he started, it was a pachad, we were horrified. All those scuds hit Israel. He's shooting Israel. Now, America made a whole coalition. As if it's a world thing, it's not just us. First, they forbade Israel to get involved. And Israel was in the most trouble because he kept threatening he's going to bomb. First he attacked Kuwait. He invaded Kuwait. By the way, the whole thing was gelt. You know that there's a Meiri in Kedushin at the beginning? It says, why did it say Kesef, Shtar, Ubia? How do you get married? Either with money, Shtar, or Ubia. 3 ways. So the Meiri says, why is Kesef mentioned first? So he answers, Kesef is Rosh HaMadabrim B'chol Makeh. Meiri Arishan. Isn't that interesting? You got to see, I heard it. Anyway. So it's geld, it's all money. Let's face, why is it all money? Because he attacked Kuwait. And Kuwait is oil rich. Kuwait is a tiny country. They can't fight back. There's money, there's oil all over the place. They're filthy rich in Kuwait. And America, you're taking over Kuwait. That means we need oil. It was money. That's the way I understood it. Kid says, so the president got involved, and he says, we have to free Kuwait because of what he's doing to Kuwait, small little country. And he got Saudi Arabia with England, with France, with Italy, a whole bunch of chevra together. They went to war against Saddam Hussein. And Israel had their pilots sitting in their planes, ready to move. And any Israeli that's shot down by an Arab anti-aircraft, Hashem Yerachem, he comes out with his parachute, and you don't want to know what's going to happen next. They capture him. But what should you do? And these Israeli pilots were the best, very well trained, and they're top-notch, and they're ready to go flying. And President Bush opens up his mouth and he says, Israel, don't get involved. This is for me. And that was the week of Bishalach, where it says, Hashem yilachem lachem atem tacharishan. Don't get involved. The Abish is going to do it. And it was just phenomenal, the whole story. I was following it. It was, by the way, my kids in my class, my 9-year-old children, I was very nervous. And my daughter was there at the time. B'chlal, Eretz Yisrael, what is he going to do? It was very scary, the whole business. Do you want to hear something interesting? I get scared now too, but not the way it used to be. My bטחון level through the years has skyrocketed. I don't see myself with heart palpitations at night the way I used to, which I had those days. Because years of bטחון makes you're just more cool about everything. You're just not worried. It's unbelievable. But those days I was scared stiff. I was davening my head off. I davened, I don't want one person getting killed. By the way, I'm taking credit. Why nobody got killed? That's me. Years later, I found out there was a Chassidish Rebbe in Los Angeles that used the same nusach I did. So that That took care of it. Finding gayest problem, it's fine. Anyway. So now there were pictures all over the newspapers of houses that smashed completely. He never used chemical. He used regular stuff. And Ramat Gan, Tel Aviv, Bnei Brak. That's where they all came. All his scuds landed. And there were pictures of homes, shattered homes. The whole area, except for Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak didn't get any damage. And all the other places, nobody got killed. There's a picture, I remember in the Yatid, a head popping out, a whole rubble, he's buried, and it said underneath, they took the guy out without a scratch. And they have one story of the guy just left the house, boom, then they shot. And this guy just walked in, and then the other guy, stories of Nisim, it was ridiculous. Nisim, complete Nisim, all the Geisha newspapers, miracles of miracles of miracles went on in this war. I don't know why they don't chop. There's an Eibishter behind all this. You know, it's unbelievable what happened there. Anyway, this Saddam Hussein, he was once in a parade, and he made a parade in Iraq. So in the parade, he had all 12 Saddams, the 12 different people that he forced to give themselves a face job so they should look exactly like him. So they were all sitting in limousines in front. And where was he? In the back of the whole parade, there were soldiers marching through the streets of Baghdad. And he was the bus driver who was behind the whole thing, watching the show. That was the real Saddam, that's what they say. We were petrified of him. The end of Nisim. Now, he lived, guess who supported him? The Germans. They built him bunkers, a lot of stuff that he used to do. He had under the ground, he had to live. Buchanetz, I believe, lived somewhere in some tower somewhere. He was afraid of everybody. And he also lived under the ground. And there are pictures of his bedroom. He had a whole world going on all under the ground. Because he was afraid. He was afraid of everyone else. Who built all those things? The Germans. They built Anashia things for this Russia. So this German telling me how much he loves Israel. Why do I love Israel? Because they fight. Israel, they fight good. They know how to fight. And he starts telling me stories about this Israeli jet, and he bombed, and he smashed them out. And then another story, he starts telling me only one story after another. I love the way they know how to fight. Those Israelis are good fighters. Now, Rav Shamshon here speaks about Amalek. And he describes Amalek just like that. They love fighting, even if it's the enemy. As long as you're a good fighter. I want to say about it. This is ridiculous. These Rishayim, they love killing each other. It doesn't bother them, this whole thing. Oh, but as long as you're fighting, they're on the good list. The Eibishter wants to see if a Yid tries. The Eibishter sees a Yid who tries, as long as Hashem admires a fighter. Now there's a lot of people out there in Klal Yisrael. I speak to them every day who are not doing well. Not in learning, not in anything. And they've got all different kinds of issues, relationship issues, all kinds of stuff. And they can't do well. For whatever reason, their backgrounds, they're not doing well. There is, in this week's Haftarah, it says, Mi ba, mi yirei elikim. It's a lashon of a yirei shamayim, that going in darkness, b'chashechem, einagalei, he he works in darkness and there's no light in his life. Yiftach b'shem Hashem yishon Mlikod. Says Reb Chatzkel Levenstein, darkness means no hatzlacha, not in learning, not in tefillah. And that's called a rib, and he's Baiteach Hashem. He keeps moving. That's called a real Yirei Shamayim. The man who's having no hatzlacha nowhere, but he keeps trying and moving and working on himself. That's the real Yirei Shamayim. Reb Chatzkel Levenstein brings out that Chazal. How important it is just to be working, just to be working. What's the difference? How much you accomplish. As long as you're working, you're trying. That's the main thing. Even if you I spoke in a camp about a month ago. I spoke in a big camp in Pennsylvania. And they wanted me there all Shabbos. So I spent the whole Shabbos there. I had to speak for the little guys, the big guys, the families, this guys, the teenagers. I was going around in circles all Shabbos, and I spoke. The end of the Shabbos, I said something very interesting. I said, I know I spoke beautiful. That's what I told everybody. I did a fantastic job. That's what I said. I did a fantastic job. I says, nobody has to tell me anything. It's fine. I know exactly what happened. I spoke beautiful. So they're looking at me. You know, I've done that before. And sure enough, I didn't get one compliment. When they see a guy talking like that, they don't give compliments. They say, this guy already, he's got the answer. So, and I explained myself. I says, I'm going to go around my whole life taking handouts, and the Novhardok take up the yarmulkes. Can you give me a handout, please? And they want it because they need covet. They need the whole world to say they did a great job. They need to hear that again and again. I don't want to get involved in that. I'll give myself a pat on the back. Why? Because either way, I was working for the Eibishter. What's the difference? I'm going to tell you, I'll have to think of myself. In fact, after a while, I was talking worried because I didn't get one compliment. So I got worried. I got a call later on. Everything's fine. But I was getting worried. Maybe it messed up. Now I'm going to tell you my think of myself. Rabbi Gelbwax, Shlita, my Manal, Chashavayid. His father's name was Yitzchak Avraham Gelbwax, a Belzer Chassid. He once took a trip. He lived in Borough Park. See the Yid, a Belzer. And his neighbor, he had to be Menachem Abel, his neighbor. So his neighbor, he was in the mountains 4 hours away. Took a trip to his next door neighbor, and was sitting Shiva, it was Menachem, and he went back. Now when he was sitting there, someone says, hey, why don't you tell your neighbor that you came all the way from the mountains? He thinks you just rolled in from next door. He doesn't know. See, Rabbi Gelbach said, Mr. Gelbach, he said, he might not know, but the Eibishter knows. That's the best story in the universe. There's an old-time European Jew. As long as the Eibishter knows, so the world, the guy does, even if that's so, I use this all the time. I could sometimes go to a chasana, and the mechutin didn't even see me. You give mazel tov, he didn't notice you, and he's busy looking somewhere else. I say, Eibishter, you saw. I was trying to do the right thing here, to be mahana this person. So it didn't go. What do you do with a guy? I remember this guy is one of my best friends. I consider him the husband of the year award. His father-in-law was the nicest person you ever met. His father used to buy gifts for his wife, for his mother-in-law. He always knew what to get. His mother was super happy, and he was Mr. Good Guy. The nice father who knows how to take care of his wife, a good family man, and he did great. He once bought his wife 3 watches in 1 year. And his wife didn't like any of them. And he came over to me and he says, look at me, and I'm not popular, and I'm not doing things right. I look at my father-in-law, I told him, your father does not come to your Dalet Amis. In the Yevish's eyes, you are going for trying this and trying that and being matriach. He's got a smooth life. He knows all the ropes. He goes, Ufum Tzara, you believe in Ufum Tzara. You're much better than him. He doesn't compare to you. You're the good husband. I don't care what they're saying about you. You may have to give another try, maybe try something else. But it's at the moment, there's no better husband than you are, because you're the one that's trying. It's a different world. People who try. That's when you live with the Yevishter, it's a total different world. Learning Musa, you start appreciating your Sudim. When you don't make it, you always made it. Punkt paket, you try. You gotta hock this in your head all day long. There used to be a fellow, I don't want to say his name. He was a Jewish, non-from Jew. I heard he was Jewish, who used to talk about health. He was on the radio, and he used to talk about health. And he hocked an awareness. I'm going back, I would say 45 years ago. He hocked he got an awareness of vitamins and health foods. They had those days a prevention magazine, also by a Yid. I heard a story with him. A story with the guy who put out Prevention magazine. Prevention magazine was the hottest seller in the world. Everybody had one. He was such a success. They say he was a yeshiva boy, ran away from yeshiva, whatever, he wasn't from. And he proved to the world that with vitamins, you could really go places. Get the right vitamins and the health foods, and you eat this and do that, and then you'll be just fine. Now listen to this. I'll tell you his name. J.I. Rodale, his name was Shane. He was giving he was on television, on whatever, he was being recorded. He was speaking to the public and saying, I have my B vitamins, I have this magnesium, and I have my calcium, and I have plenty of this, and plenty of that, and I could live. He was already an older guy. I could live for years and years. As he was talking, he suddenly sat down and he started snoring. And people looked at him, what's he doing? He's trying to act relaxed, like, look how. But after a while they realized they couldn't wake him up. He died on the spot. As he was telling everybody he could live forever because of his vitamins. There was another guy, I'll tell you his name too. His name was Jimmy Fix. You heard of him? No. Jimmy Fix wrote a book on running. Running. Now, he had aerobics, it's called, for exercise. Run and you'll be around. He had all the answers. And every time he went to warm up, and you got to do it like this, and put on the shorts, and go do it right, like a real, go to the park, and go run your head off. No, this much is good. The heartbeat, check this, and check that, you're doing great, and you could live till Mashiach. What happened to Jimmy Fix? What became of him? He was in the middle of running, when suddenly what? The Malach HaMavis stepped into the picture. He wrote a book. The whole country was a bestseller, hot like anything. Everyone, Jimmy Fix was the Gadol Hador. You go run like Jimmy, and you'll be fine. And in the middle of his run, he was in his 40s, Jimmy. And boom, right in the middle of the run. Now I'll tell you another person. This woman, her name is Adele Davis. Anybody heard of him? I'm behind. I'm in a different world. In my time, Adele Davis, everybody was crazy over her. Adele Davis, she was very into her vitamins, and she knew how to do it. She wrote books and books, and the Fumoilam, everybody was after Adele Davis. Don't eat that. Yes, eat this. No, now you got to have a salad. Now, no, it doesn't go with this. Now, one of her biggest things, Adele Davis, was she can prevent Yena Machla. That was her main accomplishment. I can lick the whole Yena Machla. If you follow my advice, say goodbye to that. It's never going to happen to you. Adele Davis died of Yena Machla. That's a third one. You want to hear more? I'll tell you who else. So one after another, these people, there was one person, I don't know what became of him. His name was Cooper. He was into running and walking, aerobics he called it. He was an army guy. I never heard any Misa Mishun about him. I have a shot at him. In his Akdom, he speaks about God. So I give him that credit. That's why I never heard that about him. All the others, right smack in the middle of their whole everything, say you're in the garbage. Now I want to say something else. Before all the health nuts are going to be on my case. I don't want to lose a lot of Chashuva customers. All my health, all those people that are into health. Rav Scheinberg used to ask you, Bachram, you didn't have your vitamins? So, if you're taking vitamins, don't worry. It's fine. The problem is, don't turn the vitamins into a god. That's not fine. Well, you take, have a Mishredik and Maisa that happened to somebody. One of my favorite stories. This guy couldn't live without a certain pill. If he didn't take that pill, he had a condition that was very serious. And he was in excruciating pain. The pill did the job. And he took it many months. And every time he took that pill, he thanked Hashem 1,000,000 times. And not the pill. He says, Hashem, it's you. It's not the pill that's doing the job. It's Hashem. And he kept doing that. Chaim Toivim Shalom. Chaim. So he used to say, it's not the pill, it's the Yevishter. It's not the pill. He used to keep saying that. Every time he did it, he said, it's not the pill. Then one day, he forgot his bottle at home. And he took a trip to Eretz Yisrael. And as soon as he realized, he got on the plane, he says, oh no. In 24 hours, I am going to be a basket case. Because he knew without that pill, that's what it took in 24 hours. It was a Shrek what he used to go through. His whole body used to crumble up into excruciating pain. He had a condition, should know of it. He got on the plane, and he spent a week in Israel, and the entire disease disappeared forever. He came home, he threw out the bottle. He didn't need it anymore. Why? Because when he did it, he was Saimach on the Yebishter. He wasn't Saimach on the pill. When you're Saimach on the pill, the day you don't have the pill, you're in trouble. The same to everything you have in your life. Don't be Saimach on people. You know how many Meshulachim have told me they're always getting 1,000 from so-and-so. He gives big bucks. Every year, the same thing happens. That guy's not here. Another guy gives him 1,000 instead. Why? Because you're already focusing on a person. You're turning him into an idol. It's no good. It's the Avishta. So then when you get it from someone else, then the pshat is, you know, that it's not the people. You don't get carried away. You're looking up to certain people. You lose the Avishta. So there's nothing wrong with taking vitamins, like Rav Scheinberg said, but you have to be careful to bring the Eibishter involved. However, the Malbim says that if you go without any ishtadlis, there's a bracha, a special bracha. You're going to try it first. You know how many times I've told people, this younger man, he had terrible pains, exactly COVID. He had COVID. I forgot exact symptoms. He couldn't do this, couldn't do that. What should I do? Should I go to the doctor? I says, no, you're not going to the doctor. That's what I told him. You're staying home. I'll give you a bracha. It's going to disappear. 4 days later, it disappeared completely. He didn't go to the doctor. Let the Eibishter do it. Don't run. Hesitate. Of course, you got to know who, what, when. Don't jump to Ishtadlis. Don't jump. You know what the doctors will do? They'll find something else wrong that you didn't know you had before, and now the problem begins. How many stories do you know like that? You know how many times with Menachem Mobile people tell, my mother was fine, the guy tells me, until she went to the doctor. She felt a little, and then he found something else, and after that, you know what happens when he finds something? You get scared. And that fear opens your mind to hasagis of being not well. And that itself causes all the problems. Ravei was a Tam of the Ramchal, and Ravei said that the doctor, the main tachlis of a doctor, is to convince a patient that he's well. The doctors, unfortunately, how many times I have stories. I went to the doctor, a good one. There was a guy in Staten Island, I don't want to say what it was about. But all the from Yidden flocked to this guy, a nice fellow. A guy, but a real sweetie. There were cards all over. Thank you, doctor. You're such a great guy. And I saw people in the waiting room, Hashem Yirachem, what they looked like. I was dealing with a very not pleasant matzav. And I walked out of his office. He took 4 tests to prove you got it completely. You have it. I walked out of his place, and I had all the symptoms. This didn't work, and that didn't work, and this was no good. Now, all the symptoms. Then I came to Lakewood, to somebody else that wasn't as smart as this guy, Baruch Hashem. I went to him, and he was like a cool, easygoing guy. And he used to say, he told me, yeah, it's okay. You know, I walked out of his office. All the symptoms are gone, except for the symptom that caused Bittul Torah. That the HR didn't want, I couldn't concentrate. That the HR didn't want me to lose. But anyway, the way a doctor talks, the way you talk to yourself, you can change your life. The way you talk and the way you treat people, you treat yourself. And I got to tell you, Mordechai Maisa, lately I'm telling over one of the best stories. My friend, it happened 10 years ago. And my friend, his son just started going off. And he was going through Gehenna. Now, Nובהרדוק is believed, and I heard the same thing from Shlomo Freifeld. You want to be mechanech kids? Mechanech the kids with your midas. When they watch your midas, they'll be okay. Now, this guy called me up long distance. Oh, Mendel, what happened? My son. What does he do? He doesn't go to minyan. He doesn't get up in the morning. All night long he's up looking at, you don't want to hear. And he's addicted. And he's getting worse and worse and worse. He needs a boot camp. He's not normal. He doesn't go to work. He doesn't learn. Does nothing. He's out of it. Left yeshiva. He's had enough. He starts talking, saying things about how he feels about life. Rabbi Mendel, I'm going to sugar with this kid. Now, if you want, you have a choice. You can go ahead and fight around with him, like a lot of people. You didn't get up a minyan. Minyan. If the guy's a real minyan type, so he's going to start hitting him over the head. Minyan, that you do to yourself. Don't do that to the kid. Unless it works well with him. Maybe he likes to hear that. Minyan, yeah, let's do a little simcha, you know. But if he's not going to minyan, don't hit him over the head with a Bible and tell him, you're not going to minyan. Oh, so much aggravation. I have so much aggravation. What I have to go through, my son. They tell them, they feel so good about all their aggravations. You have aggravation when you speak Lashon Hara? Not so much. Why not? Why did the kid give you more aggravation? It's not fair. Make up your mind. But you're having so much aggravation. Aggravation. In the Nובהרדוק, they make jokes out of all this stuff. What's really bothering you? Someone's not doing what you like. You know what I've seen? this is nasty stuff. I don't want to hurt people. But I saw this. There was once a car 2 blocks away from my house. A car crashed into a tree. And the door was swung open. And the teenage driver had disappeared. And the Schwarze mother came running with her aggravation. You know, she sounded exactly like a Jewish lady with aggravation. Same aggravation, just she had a Schwarze teenager, and this is a teenager with a yarmulke. It's the same midah. People have aggravation. Aggravation, you know, if in a vardig, what? Aggravation? What's that? You know that Reb Chaim Mordechai Weinkrantz, the Rosh HaBezdin, the vardig, told me that you, in the next world you get petched for having aggravation. He says, but how can you have aggravation? There was once where Gershon Liebman once was on the phone with somebody complaining, oh, yesh li agmat nefesh, and everyone was laughing because he was putting on a show. He did not understand the concept of aggravation. People that are, notice it says, Mama Rivka said, Katzti b'chayai, p'nei b'nois chaytz. She had aggravation. Her daughter-in-laws had the, you know, they had Keteiris of Avodah Zarah. Esav's Rebbitzins were, anyway. So,
that aggravation was okay?
What?
Why is that aggravation?
As long as there's a small kuf. Why is the kuf small? To show you that when a yid has aggravation, sometimes you have to go through the motions. It's proper to have aggravation and act on it and daven. But deep down, if you really believe Kol Ma'adav Rachmana L'Tava, there's no room for any aggravation anywhere. There's no such bria. Everything is l'taiva. Everything in this world is good. There's no such thing as bad. People have, there's so many. Rabbi Miller Zatzal, he tried to get a job and they wouldn't take him to be a manal in New York. They didn't want to take him. And they took another fellow who was totally not qualified compared to Rabbi Miller. And Rabbi Miller said, Baruch Hashem, he didn't get the job. At the time, he was like aggravation, right? And he ended up in Slabodka. Because if he would have been a principal then, we never would have had Rabbi Avigdor Miller. But Baruch Hashem, they rejected him. Everything you got rejected, there's a reason. Everything's l'taiva. Everything is a bracha. And nothing in this world is no good. Everything is a taiva, full of mechupelas. All the mistakes you made, even the averis that you do, I heard this from my rabbeim, even your chatoyim, it's all the extreme opposite of bad. And it's up to you. If you're going to go around saying, Gamzul l'taiva, an avera turns into a mitzvah. Magam shabali tshuva ein tzadikim v'ruchim lamed. The Baal Shem HaKadosh showed he loved those simple Jews because he considered them like Bali Tshuva. And he loved them. And he once showed it. He had big guns around him. You know who his Talmidim were? Each one of them was a Gadol B'Yisrael. The biggest, the Baal Shem Tov, the people around him were, and he loved that simple Jew. And he called them a Baal Tshuva. That's the way he tightens them up. And he once showed his Talmidim what's going on in Shemayim when these people say Tillim. They barely know how to read, and they're Amaratzim, and then look in Shemayim how big they are because they're a Bechina of a Baal Tshuva. And we don't respect this type of stuff. I was just on the phone with Bali Tshuva, and these Bali Tshuva feel like, we're not the real thing. And we have to live among these FFBs, from birth, they call us, right? These from birth guys, and they're looking down at us. By the way, it's not so true that I don't look down at Bali Tshuva. A lot of them think we are. But that's also painful. We understand it. And even though it might not be true, and Novhardok was taught, you're having pain, even though the pain is unfounded, you can have a kapara. And if you're smart enough not to have pain, you'll still get a kapara. Because something that normally could cause pain, and you overcame the pain with working on bטחון, someone just embarrassed you in public and let you have it, but good. And you kept quiet, you lost all your sins. It's great. What happens and you had a lot of pain, you embarrassed me, I didn't say anything. If you go ahead and you learn Musa, and the Musas for him tell you, like the Madrigas on the Malta says, that if you learn Musa till you're happy with that Bizyonis, you get the same kapara as if you had all that pain. That's why learning Musa is the smartest thing to do. It's as if you got you don't feel nothing. Oh, in fact, I love Bizyonis. I knew people like that. I had a Rebbe who had a choice of two places to daven. One place, they loved him. They stood up for him. He got shishi or shlishi, whatever. The other place, he didn't fit in, whatever. And they were mavaza him. And guess where he davened? They went to the place where they gave him Bizyonis. You know, it's coming now. Yemei adin varachmim, may elul. Get yourself some good Bizyonis. Best way to go. Don't look for too much. You know, some people, a home situation. Come have a seat, Rabbi. A home situation the Novhardok is, your home is one of the main challenges of your life, is your home. Your parents, your children, your wife, your sibling, your spouse. It's that or the job. Watching that Hashem doctor wants you to have this job because you'll have that type of assignment. But this nasty boss, everyone hates him. The guy's, how do you live with a guy like this? If you would not have that boss, you lost your Olam Haba. You must have Yisudim. Some people it's the boss, some people it's the wife, some people it's this. You must have. Novhardok used to say, sometimes you have a built-in tikkun. You don't have to run far to get Bizyonis. Some people, their spouse is very good at it. Some people kvel. I remember a farmer in Israel. His wife was good at it. He used to come home every night, and she used to curse him to the ground. And she knew how to do it. She was a professional. She was a European woman, you know, from before the war. How come you coming in so late? Why do you know how to do everything? She was a witch. She passed with flying colors. Was she good at it? She used to scream at him, and I saw this myself. He used to come in every night laughing. And I remember every curse she gave him, he gave her back 2 blessings. And he wasn't a Baal Musa. The thing about it was, I don't even know if he knew how to learn much. He was a simple Jew. But those days, there weren't the type where, something tells me we are not compatible. This is not a shidduch. We have to see a therapist. This is no good. Who did I marry over here? Oh, no. That's what a good American boy would do. Look, and to come home, start crying to whoever it is. Look what I fell in, right? And you're stuck with this nasty lady. And you go to Novhardok, what they would say? You're lucky. You can steig. You can work on some lunas, on Danlikav's. Yeah, you become something. But a wife like that, she's perfect. Learn how to keep quiet and don't be so sensitive. So let her scream. What do you get? You know what this guy used to do? He used to bless her. So the Leibam is Mashiach. That was his favorite line. She'll live to Mashiach. He used to bless her 100 times. He was a very good-natured fellow. His son was the sweetest, most normal kid. A teenager when I knew him. Was he a normal, happy kid? because his father didn't make a spiel. He had a best model of father. That's a father. Couldn't care less. I'm not sensitive. I just don't care. You could yell, and he loved his delicious wife. Such a wonderful person. You know, she looked like who knows what. You know, it was like an American? Oh, come on. I'd rather to be married to her, you know. And he could, let's say she doesn't make the meals. A guy like this, I'll just go into the fridge, take out my own stuff, and go, let's get out of here. American guy, wait, she doesn't make meals. Why? That means it's a segula not to gain weight and be overweight with all kinds of blood pressure problems. When you have a wife who doesn't make you meals, a guy who lives with the Yebishter does not see the wife. Is she good? Is she bad? Is she nice? What kind of silly stuff is that? What Rab Chia said, Daesh and Megadelis as Banenu, Matzelis Benachet. That's enough. You're doing a great job, lady. I don't need more. Who wants you? You have to be nice. You have to smile. Well, he was busy all day. He was a farmer. People who work hard. It's a school of Shalom Bayis. People have a lot of time. If you have time, you're dead. Time is the killer of a lot of problems that people have. Too much time. Kinna Taiva covered. You know what the Kotzker Rebbe said? Rashia Fishman. I was in Chaim Berlin. And in the night, say the Mashgiach was Rashia Fishman. A wonderful person. From Rav Hutner's close Talmidim. So Reb Shia Fishman got us all together, the dormitory boys, and he made one meeting. That's the only time he ever spoke to us. And he knew how to do it. Was he good? He said, he got all worked up. The Kotzker Rebbe hat gesagt. Kotzker Rebbe said, I don't want that my Talmidim should not sin. No. And he kept repeating that again. And Kotzker Rebbe again was sitting there. So get to the point. He kept repeating. He said, I don't want my Talmidim should not sin. No, that's not what I don't want. And then he said it about 10 more times, and he's working himself up through a storm, and then finally he said, I want my Talmidim shouldn't have time to do Avedas. That's the best way to go. The healthiest people. Who has time? Get yourself busy. I'm looking. We try. If you can, I'm looking to get all my boys to be crazy busy, turning over the world. Do you know that people are out, Chavetz Chaim, Lakewood, Chabad, all I've interviewed one after another, all kinds. Those that are out there helping other Jews are the happiest people in the universe. They don't have time for these. You got to fight with your wife. I spoke to one of these shluchim. He told me the first day of Hanukkah, he had 8 functions for seniors, for juniors, for men, for ladies. First day, second day, another 8 functions. His godless is that dealing with thousands of people, the next day he's left with 2, 3 of them that decide to hold on. I meet a lot of people like this. It's whatever. See, that's where you got to work for the Eibishter. You don't work for. But anyway, they're busy. Person that's busy helping Klal Yisrael, more busy, the more the better. Keep busy. Who has time for these? All your Averis in Nevada, you know what they told me? Hatel aleim tzorchei tzibur ben kalamei aleim. Get them working. Go do more. Now do this, do that. Do something that you enjoy. I want to tell you something. I have a very stressful schedule. Tonight, I'm behind. I got so much to do. Somebody was here from Eretz Yisrael. I don't have time for nothing. And whatever, I take phone calls all day. And I'm busy writing my Bטחון weeklies. And then I got to speak. And I speak 7 times a week. Besides Shabbos, I'm speaking all Shabbos. But I make it my business to be, you know what I said? I'm off 1 week out of the year. I teach. And then for 4 weeks, I'm in a camp, and there I teach a little less. And 1 week I'm off. That's the 1 week a year that I go tight with sugar. That's the 1 week that's dangerous. I'm a safe guy. except for that week. That week, oh no, I dread. You know, years back when I wasn't this, I used to end up in the emergency room. There was always something else wrong. It was all baloney. You have time to get sick. Let's get sick. You know, your body has a lot of fun. You know, you ever see these little kids? I have a boo-boo, not you. You ever see these little kids? I have a boo-boo. I have a boo-boo. You know that? I remember once, the kids are so cute. Come inside, Rabbi. There's plenty of seats over here. They're all empty. You can move over. Anyway, so I was once, this kid. They were little kids. This kid fell. And he comes, it's recess time. I'm in charge to watch the kids. And I'm on duty. Suddenly a little 5-year-old, 6-year-old kid with his two friends, Rabbi Mendel, Rabbi Mendel, Rabbi Mendel. Yes. Yankee got hurt. Really? Yes. And as they're saying it, and Yankee has one hand on this guy and his friend's shoulders, cute little bubbies. And the other hand, the other guy's shoulder. And his tears are coming down. And they say, Yankee got hurt. And as soon as they say he got hurt, Yankee starts crying even louder. They say, I said, where'd he get? He's gushing. He's got. And Yankee goes, he has so much pity on himself, you know, because all the kids are so excited. Yankee got hurt. So they all have such achmanas. Adults don't change. You hear that? They don't change. I got a boo-boo. Anyway, you think they change. I'll prove it to you. Maybe I don't want to embarrass the whole world. But when you see someone in pain, don't you dare laugh at them. I didn't mean that. But it helps you when you have a way of looking at things. It'll help you live a lot happier. Anyway, then he's gushing. He's gushing. Yankee's gushing. I says, where's he gushing? So they're not sure. The right foot, the left foot. Yeah, he's gushing. He's gushing. I've heard that so many times. He's gushing because kids like it dramatized. Now, adults are the same way. As soon as COVID started, it said there was horrific, you know, they have ways of they wrote, this isn't just COVID, maybe one or two guys, something happened. It started off, whatever it was, but then they started writing, it's spreading. The newspapers were eating this alive. They love this stuff. This is bread and butter. This is their panosa to scare the public. Whichever newspaper could have the more gory picture on the front. The from guys are more easy with this, but the non-from, whichever one gets the word horrific, pandemic. There were certain lashonis that made everybody go meshuggah. And there's a picture of a guy in a suit. See what they're doing? They put the guy in. He looks like a spaceman, and he said, "This is real. This is serious." And so many people, they had to leave, and you know, they're getting locked. And this guy died already, and this guy never. And the worse it is, the more they sell. You know, the newspapers that can make it into a real scary business. That's great. I'm telling you, I'm not going back on this. Whoever puts on his mask is going to get Elam Haba. If that's what he feels he has to do, he means well. He's a tzaddik. But whoever doesn't put on and laughs at it, you know, till today, I want to challenge the whole world. How come Sweden has the same exact casualty as the rest of the world? Sweden are cool guys. They're not serious people. You know that? Scandinavians are sort of laid back a little. They say that Sweden has the same amount of casualties as the rest of the world, even though they would do nothing. Is that true or not? Tell me. You guys know the newspapers better than me. That's why I heard this many times. Shame. How come? And this Arab doctor made a remark in Bnei Brak. He said all the happy guys are out of the hospital faster than everyone else. And all the guys who don't believe in the whole business, got to be careful. Bטחון is not so simple. Some people think they have bטחון. The whole world is bringing a certain fever. Don't think you're just going to fight it. Some people could, some people can't. You got to watch it. You're not sure, bטחון, whatever. But one thing's for sure. The more, he was saying it, Biederman. I saw Biederman said this. They showed him all over he quoted a Ben Ish Chai that a big chunk of all the dead people are there only because of fear. No. Fear. That's, watch out, what are you afraid of? Tell you what happened. I went into this, I hope they don't find out. I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but my anicle did not want to come visit me until I checked out about this whole business. I was not interested in the whole, I'm too busy. I'm learning Musa, I have time for pandemics, Who wants to get involved in baby stuff? You get involved, you think I'm joking. You know how many people I had 45 Yeshuas in 2 weeks. I never had such nisim in this kufa because I deep down didn't really believe in it. So I was by the bטחון level. All the names they gave me, I checked it one after another. He's better. They're all improving. 4 guys I remember distinctly in 1 week. They had 4 guys, 2 were in ICU and 2 were sitting home for 3 weeks, not able to move, and his wife had to put him on the phone, and he said, "Oh, Rabbi Mendel, I can't move." And I screamed at him. I yelled at him, "Get out of bed, you meshugana! You like to be sick, so you're sick. It's your own fault. Cut it out." I promise you this is true. These 2 guys, remember, they're my friends. They're out in a few days. We're out of bed because I explained to them, even if it's real, if your brain makes a joke out of the problem, the body likes that. You know that? You can cure yourself. Do you know that? I was told this by a top doctor in the entire New Jersey. He's number 1. Happens to be a from in that area. He told me, with your mind, you can cure your disease better than any other way. I heard it in Pekotchay. Top doctor, he told it to me. And don't worry, I've done these things, plenty. My Rebbe let me have it. Operation, what operation? You want to hear something? I'm going to tell you a story now. I'll leave out the name. Privately, I can tell you who it is. A world famous tzaddik had a child who was born that couldn't move. And couldn't move, couldn't do anything. And he said this in public, but he had a scharata, I don't want to say his name. He said it in public, his story. The kid was in bed, and he was saying, tell him, and the kid ain't moving. A year. Finally, they put the kid in the home. After a few months, they said, we can't do anything with your kid. Then he went to Bnei Brak to the Stipler, and he told the Stipler what's going on. The Thai Stipler said, he can't walk, he's going to walk. He can't talk, he's going to talk. He can't move his hands, he's going to move his one by one. He's going to see, he's going to digest. The Stipler told, I heard this from his grandson, the one who told me the story. The whole family knows. Anyway, that person, he came home, a famous person in Klal Yisrael, an Adam Gadol. He came home, and the nurse went berserk. The nurse was going, suddenly the kid got up. This kid today, a parent of 4 children. The kid that was out. Now, this Adam Gadol said that there's a Kabbalah, that when there's something wrong with panemiastic thing, the inside of your body, then you can do the biggest nisim because you don't see an openness. So I know what it is. It's the Even Ezra. Even Ezra said, I heard this from Isaac Schwartz, told it to me. No one sees it. You know my boys, the guys who sit here, I have a younger man whose doctor, they was listening to Mendel for a year. It doesn't hurt to listen to Mendel. You become a Baal Mifus. This is a crash course in becoming Baal Mifus. All my chevra become big Rebbes, Admors, Baal Mifus, all my chevra. This is one of my chevra. He's not here now. You know what he did? The doctor told him, your baby's heart is in bad shape, inside the mother. And he said, that's what you say. That's one story. And the kid came out perfect. Another one, they said the kid has a Down syndrome. He says, that's what you say. I say baloney. Kid came out normal. Another one, this is my mifus already. I'm still the same Baal mifus. I have a bracha. We're bringing back the Vardik b'chol toik for Vahadra before Elul. This Elul, we're going to bring back the Shita all the way. Maskim? That's it. L'chaim, l'chaim. Anybody want some schnapps?